or in one as charged in count one. We further find true the allegations that Diana Jean Lovejoy,
Seemed like the perfect caregiver, but behind her kind smile,
number OCD 980, verdict. We, the jury, in the above entitled
Brittany Cole was hiding a dark secret. With a fatal dose and a well-crafted lie, she thought she had pulled off the perfect crime. But her digital footprint and financial moves told a different story. What she didn't know was that her attempt to cover up the murder was about to unravel. You won't believe how the truth finally came to light. The caregiver's deception. Brittany Cole was known in her community as a dedicated and compassionate caregiver. For years, she had taken on the responsibility of looking after her elderly father-in-law, David Cole Sr., who was battling several health issues. No one suspected that behind the caring facade, she was hiding a dark secret. David had always been grateful for the support Brittany provided, especially since his own children lived far away. He trusted her completely, even allowing her to manage his medications and medical appointments. She had access to his personal finances and often took control of his daily routines. But what David didn't know was that Brittany had a plan, one that would change the course of her life forever. Struggling financially, she saw an opportunity to gain access to his Social Security benefits by eliminating him. It was a cruel and calculated decision, but in her mind, it was the only way out of her mounting debts. Brittany knew the risks of taking such an extreme step, but she was confident in her ability to cover her tracks. She carefully prepared the scene, making it look like a natural death. However, her attempt to hide the crime would soon unravel as investigators began to piece together the truth. Her manipulation of the law and her position as a caregiver created the perfect cover for a crime that would eventually expose her true nature. A fatal dose. The plan was simple, or so Brittany thought. She knew that David's health had been deteriorating for some time, and no one would question his sudden decline. What she didn't anticipate was how the details of her actions would eventually lead to her undoing. One evening, Brittany was alone with David. She had access to his medications, including some powerful painkillers he took for his chronic condition. She carefully calculated the dosage, ensuring that it was enough to cause a fatal overdose, but not so much that it would raise suspicion. Brittany had a clear vision of what she wanted. His death would give her access to his Social Security checks, and no one would be the wiser. With trembling hands, she administered the lethal dose, convincing herself it was the only way to fix her financial troubles. David, in his fragile state, had no idea what was happening. As the medication took effect, he slowly drifted off to sleep, never to wake up again. Brittany tried to keep up appearances, maintaining the role of the devoted caregiver, but inside, she was racing against time. She had done it. She had killed the man whom had trusted her. Now, it was up to her to cover her tracks and make it look like an unfortunate accident. What Brittany didn't realize was that, in her attempt to commit the perfect crime, she had already left behind a trail of evidence that would soon be discovered. Hiding the truth. After David's death, Brittany faced the daunting task of covering her tracks. She couldn't afford for anyone to discover what she had done, so she set about creating a story that would explain his sudden passing without raising any suspicion. She quickly hid David's body in a shed on her property, hoping the smell and the passage of time would keep anyone from questioning his absence for a while. She went about her life as usual, running errands, visiting friends, and even continuing to manage his finances as though nothing had changed. To the outside world, it seemed like David had simply passed away quietly in his sleep. Brittany even went so far as to claim that David had asked her to handle his affairs after his death, making it look like she was just fulfilling his final wishes. She made sure to keep up the charade when family members and neighbors came by, ensuring that no one suspected anything unusual. Days turned into weeks, and Brittany thought she was safe. But deep down, she knew that the longer David's body remained hidden, the more risk she took. Yet, she couldn't bear the thought of losing access to his Social Security benefits, which had become a lifeline for her financial troubles. Brittany's lies and efforts to conceal the truth only grew more elaborate as the days passed, but she couldn't hide forever. It was only a matter of time before the authorities started to ask questions. Digital footprints. As Brittany continued to live her life under the illusion of getting away with murder, technology started to work against her. While she focused on covering the physical evidence, she overlooked one crucial detail: her digital footprint. Brittany had used her phone and the internet to manage David's finances and medical records. In an attempt to make everything seem normal, she had searched for things like how to manage someone's social security after death, and hiding a death for a period of time in the days following his passing. What she didn't realize was that her search history and text messages were all being recorded. Law enforcement investigators soon began to notice oddities when they checked Brittany's online activity. They discovered that Brittany had researched topics that seemed to align too closely with the timing of David's death. In addition, text messages between Brittany and her friends revealed subtle hints about her anxieties over what she had done. One text in particular stood out. Brittany had asked a friend for advice about covering her tracks if something went wrong. Though she had attempted to delete certain messages and clear her history, investigators were able to recover much of her activity through advanced forensic techniques. These digital breadcrumbs were the tipping point in the investigation, providing the first real clues that Brittany had not only lied about David's death, but had also deliberately orchestrated it. With the mounting digital evidence, the truth about her crime was finally starting to surface. Uncovering the evidence. As the digital footprints continued to pile up, investigators began to piece together the full extent of Brittany's deception. With a growing collection of incriminating evidence, the case was quickly gaining momentum. One of the key turning points came when Brittany's phone was analyzed more closely. The authorities discovered that her search history and deleted messages revealed a chilling pattern. Brittany had actively researched methods for covering up a crime and even checked websites on how long a body could be hidden before the smell became detectable. This discovery was a huge breakthrough, showing that Brittany had planned every detail of her crime with chilling precision. In addition to the digital evidence, Brittany's bank records showed suspicious withdrawals made shortly after David's death. These financial transactions were linked to a series of Social Security checks that were being funneled into her accounts. The investigation also uncovered that Brittany had been using David's credit cards and Social Security number to pay off her own debts. Even with the digital and financial evidence mounting against her, Brittany stuck to her story, insisting that David had passed away from natural causes. But the accumulation of proof made it impossible to ignore the truth. The investigators were closing in on her, and soon, the police would confront her with the undeniable evidence of her crime. Brittany's perfect cover was beginning to crack, and it was only a matter of time before the full extent of her actions would be revealed to the world. Justice served. After weeks of investigation, the authorities finally had enough evidence to arrest Brittany. When confronted with the overwhelming proof, including the digital footprint and financial transactions, Brittany's facade crumbled. She was charged with murder, fraud, and the illegal use of Social Security benefits. In court, the prosecution presented a strong case, highlighting Brittany's calculated manipulation of the legal system and the victim's trust. Brittany was found guilty, and the judge sentenced her to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The case shocked the community, showing how a seemingly caring person could hide such dark intentions behind a mask of kindness. Brittany's attempt to cover her perfect crime ended in justice being served. Brittany's perfect crime didn't stay hidden for long, and justice was served in the end. But what happens when personal data falls into the wrong hands? In our next video, we explore how a massive data breach triggered a nationwide manhunt. Stay tuned. This is one story you don't want to miss.